journey built on honor. From Southwest Florida to Washington, D.C. Tonight, ABC 7 shares the stories of local veterans with an unforgettable honor flight. Heroes Among Us.
For decades, they answered America's call. They served in jungles, deserts, frozen battlefields, and war zones thousands of miles from home. And when the fighting ended, for many, the service did not. Some returned to celebration, others to silence.
Southwest Florida Honor Flight gave these veterans something they never expected, a hero's welcome. The trip bringing veterans from across generations together for a once-in-a-lifetime trip to Washington, D.C. Welcome to Heroes Among Us, a tribute to Southwest Florida Honor Flight.
The journey lasting just one day, but for these veterans, the memories will last forever.
Before the sun came up in Southwest Florida, 86 veterans, their guardians, and dozens of volunteers filled Punta Gorda Airport, ready for a day many longed to experience. Most were running on little sleep, but excitement quickly took over.
Looking forward to making sure that my father and the rest of the veterans enjoy themselves and get to see what they want to see in Washington, D.C.
Honor Flight Mission 24 brought together veterans from multiple generations of service. 2 World War II veterans, 4 who served during the Korean War, and dozens more who served during Vietnam and other conflicts. All heading to the nation's capital to see the memorials built in their honor. After touching down in Baltimore, the group would make their way to Arlington National Cemetery via police escort. It was there where they would watch the changing of the guard in silence. They also visited the Women in Military Service Memorial, drove past the Iwo Jima Memorial, and stopped for lunch at the FDR Memorial. Next up, the World War II Memorial. And for veterans like World War II veteran Francis Daly, each stop brings back memories of answering the call to serve.
I was a volunteer. I was 17 years old. I wanted to, a funny thing, I wanted to win the Marine Corps, but my mother wouldn't sign.
I'm here with you today to deliver thanks to Korean War veterans' families.
At the Korean War Memorial, Korean War veterans on the flight took in that moment together.
Everything they were doing was super. It was beautiful. You know, and that the people loved you. You know, they just. It's crazy.
The group later stopped at the Vietnam War Memorial, a visit that many say carries a different kind of weight.
It's closure for them. They get to say goodbye to their friends. Their friends are, their names are up there.
On the flight home, one of the most emotional moments of the day. Mail call. Veterans opened letters from family, friends, and even strangers, thanking them for their service.
It was great to get letters from people I didn't know as well as people I knew, and I got a lot of letters.
And after a day full of memories, reflection, and recognition, one final surprise waited back home in Southwest Florida.
To meet all the people that went through similar situations and gave all they had to just to survive and come back and support our wonderful country. And you don't realize what you have unless you lose it.
Because freedom
isn't free.
There you go.
A day of honor, gratitude, and for many veterans, the welcome home they waited decades to receive.
Different wars, different uniforms, different generations of service, but united by one thing: sacrifice for this country.
We start at Arlington National Cemetery inside the Women in Military Service for America Memorial, a place honoring the generations of women who served, often without the recognition they deserved.
Inside the Women in Military Service for America Memorial at Arlington National Cemetery, history lives on every wall. Photos, uniforms, stories of service. Each display telling the story of women who stepped forward to serve their country, even when the country had not yet fully made room for them.
Served in the Navy Reserve from 1978 to 2006.
For retired Navy Commander Donna Fournier, this visit was more than a tour through history. It was a reflection of a lifetime spent fighting to ensure women veterans would never be forgotten.
And that's what this memorial represents, is all the women that have served.
Fournier has spent more than 4 decades researching the history of women in the military, even interviewing women who served during World War I.
We've served since the Revolutionary War. And we're here and we're strong and they need us today.
The memorial itself was hard fought, a symbol of recognition that many women in service spent years pushing to make a reality. Now, those trailblazers are finally seeing their stories honored in the heart of Arlington.
Marine Corps from 1991 to 1995.
For Marine Shelley Adesi, the experience was emotional. She says the real heroes are the women who served decades earlier, the ones who opened doors for future generations.
It's those women in the 60s and 70s. Those are the trailblazers that set history for us and pave the road for us to move forward, right? We can do any job we want in the service now because of those women.
From World War II veterans to those who served in the Gulf War, generations of veterans came together inside the memorial, reflecting on decades of service, sacrifice, and the evolution of the military over time.
At the end of the day, it's one big brotherhood. Man or woman, it's one big brotherhood with one common mission for the United States.
And that shared sense of service and unity was felt throughout the room, as gratitude was expressed back to those who have served.
We are very, very grateful for your service to our nation.
A powerful reminder that the history of America's military cannot be told without the women who helped shape it.
For these veterans, the memorial is more than a building. It's a long-awaited acknowledgement of the lives they lived and the history they helped write.
He had just turned 20 when his helicopter was shot out of the sky in Vietnam, turning a mission into a fight for survival. After the break, a Marine looks back at the ambush, the loss, and the moment 57 years later. Welcome back to Heroes Among Us. For many Vietnam veterans, the journey to Washington is not just about visiting memorials. It's about finally standing in the places where memory and loss have lived for more than 50 years. And for some, those memories began long before they ever reached the nation's capital. Our next veteran is a Marine who earned the nickname Rocket Man after a mission in Vietnam that he says changed everything.
Thomas Rocket Man Breeds was just 20 years old when he was deployed and quickly found himself in combat that would leave lasting physical and emotional scars. On this honor flight, he is finally able to return to a place where he says survival came at a cost he still carries today.
Well, they shot down the Huey that went in first, and they let the first one land, then they shot us down. And the bullets are coming through the chopper. Jets and helicopters and mortars and artillery, and the whole hill is on fire.
Thomas Breeds, a tough Irish man from Massachusetts, receiving a lot of titles over his lifetime. But one nickname holds a different level of pride, earned after a mission on an unsecured mountain in Vietnam, the Survivor.
Back up on the hill, there's bodies everywhere, bodies everywhere. I really thought I was going to die there.
Just 6 months after standing at attention at Parris Island, Breeds' boots touched down in Vietnam.
Ambushes incoming, you name it, it was there, and it was frustrating. It was really frustrating.
Just under 10 months in Vietnam, working hours upon hours each day.
You know, once I was there, it wasn't worth it. It certainly wasn't worth it.
His tour in Vietnam cut short during a mission he thought he would never return from. Approaching the mountain, their Huey was shot down. One of their helicopters made a successful landing before the chopper that Thomas was in took heavy gunfire going down. Hours later, Thomas and 2 others continued the mission.
So I'm listening to the gunfire on both sides of the hill. I must have ran past the guy because I got shot in the back. They captured the lieutenant and they captured Max Baer, and they tortured him all night long. What a horrible night they said they had.
There were no survivors in the Huey that was shot down, and the 2 captured soldiers were tortured and killed. Breeds sustained a gunshot and shrapnel wounds. He was carried back and flown out on the last chopper of the night. A survivor, lucky, but only able to think about those left behind.
This is the guy, one of the guys that carried me back on the perimeter. So I'm opened up right down here, but the guys I served with were the best. I felt bad for leaving them, but I didn't want to be there. Purple Hat we have right there. National Defense Medal.
Though his time in Vietnam was short,
Vietnam Campaign Medal with three battle stars.
he was trusted with a lot of responsibility.
Whenever they needed a good weapon, maybe break a bunker or maybe break a machine gun, they'd call the Rockets up.
Rocket Man, turning 20 years old in Vietnam, carried 3 light anti-assault weapons, or LAWs, for the better part of 10 months.
I'm proud of my family. I wish I was as proud of myself as I am my family.
Thomas followed in the footsteps of his family.
My father was 7 years in the Army in World War II. He was a prisoner of war for 3 of them. My older brother Jimmy was in the Marine Corps while I was there, before I was there. He was there in 66 and 60 to 70.
Fast forward 57 years, and Rocket Man is finally getting some closure, thanks to his new friends at Honor Flight.
But that was the most exciting thing I've ever gone through, is those people from the Punta Gorda area that came out to see us and cheered us and shook our hands, and they were amazing. They weren't there 57 years ago. It was simply a beautiful thing.
For Rocket Man, Vietnam is something that he still carries with him to this day. But for many veterans on this journey, those memories are shared, not just in what they lived through, but in the names of those who never came home.
At the Vietnam Veterans Memorial in Washington, more than 58,000 names are etched into black granite. For those who served, it is a return to everything that war left behind.
It's a place built on memory and marked by loss. The Vietnam Veterans Memorial, where more than 58,000 names are etched into black granite, and every name is touched. For Vietnam veterans who return, this isn't just a monument. It's a return to a moment in time they never fully left behind.
I was wounded on February 4th, 1968. We were fighting against North Vietnam regulars, and pretty much a sniper got a hold of me and bullet hit me in the back of the neck, came out of the shoulder.
He served, he was wounded, and he came back home. But like many who fought there, the memory stays clear.
Did what we had to do. Did what we were told.
At the wall, some are searching for names. Others are searching for people.
I'm looking for the guy that took my place in Vietnam that died there. And I always think, could have been me.
He remembers a first name, a moment, a life interrupted. But not everything comes back clearly.
It's been 50 years. I can't remember his last name. I remember his first name, Charles. I remember him, you know.
When taps sound, everything slows down. Salutes, stillness. For Colonel James Wisensee, the moment is heavy with both grief and gratitude.
Sad and relief to get the recognition, and sad because of all these names that's on the wall. Some of them friends, some of them good friends.
And for John Ziegenhain, coming back here brings it all into focus. Not just the war, but what it means to carry it for a lifetime.
I kind of heard my father talk about World War II guys, and they came back from a lot more hell than I went through and went on with their life. So I figured I could do the same.
At this wall, the war is over, but for those who lived it, the story is still being written, one name at a time.
For Rocket Man and for the veterans who visited the Vietnam Veterans Memorial, what they saw in Washington wasn't just history, it was a memory still being carried forward.
Coming up, service to the country and service to your local community. We're sharing one family with multiple generations of veterans who continue to serve the Suncoast and beyond from right here in Sarasota.
Welcome back. For veterans, joining the service is something you either volunteer for or you're chosen for. But serving your community after hanging up the uniform is a choice. We're introducing you to Bob and Rob Harper, a father-son pair of veterans using their training from the service to better help civilians every day.
And you said, following in my dad's footsteps, so I completely did. But then my dad followed in my footsteps, applying to the blood bank.
Bob and Rob Harper, both veterans in the Army Reserve, both working as specialists in medical labs, and both using the skills they learned in the service to help others today. One benefit to having two medical specialists in the family: they weren't far apart.
I happened to be at my folks' house, and my dad got the call first.
I answered it, and it was one of the sergeants, and he said, "Bob, you've been activated." He said, "By the way, is your son Rob there?" I said, "Yes, he is, as a matter of fact." And I turned around and I said, "It's for you."
So he hands me the phone. You got 72 hours to make it to the station, grab all your gear. They called up 2,000 lab techs to Walter Reed Army Medical Center. We basically were called up to backfill the active duty people that went overseas.
Although they were almost 20 years apart, both were born in New York. Both went to lab school in Fort Sam Houston, and for a brief, roughly 6-month period, working as one at the same site, assisting in Operation Desert Storm.
I also had another son that was in the reserves also with us, so the three of us. And they took a picture, they had it in the paper about the father and his two boys, something to be proud of.
After nearly 60 years of service combined between Bob and Rob, Rob trailblazed a path for the family to the sands of Sarasota.
So I was looking for other opportunities, and so I fell back on my lab training, applied to the blood center, and got hired. Just by, fate again, brought me to these doors.
Shortly after, Bob began volunteering. Now both are employees, serving, saving lives. Appreciation, like blood, flows both ways. After a year and a half of encouragement and honor flight applications, Bob and Rob got the call once again together. Bob, Rob, and Rob's brother all going on honor flight. And to top it all off, one more generation, Rob's son. And to no surprise, his name is Robbie. For this bloodline, the history of the trip was personal.
The Vietnam Wall stood out for me. And I had one that used to sit next to me in high school, and he was killed. And so we looked up his name. It's always good to go back and visit your classmate and, say a little prayer for him and just to be there with him.
And what happened on the flight home? Enough to make the heart skip a few beats.
Yeah, just was a great feeling inside. I was happy not only for myself, but I was happy for all the fellow veterans to get that welcome home. Yeah.
When we walked outside, I couldn't believe the people. And that hit me.
Spending a lifetime dedicated to serving others, getting a moment to feel appreciated and recognize themselves.
Just the three generations, the three of us, having my dad and my son with me at my side. Yeah, that does not happen very often for something like that. We're a close-knit family, so I'm just happy to be able to have served with my dad.
Whether it's sending blood thousands of miles across the globe or personally driving it to the center, the Harper family has you covered. Get connected with Suncoast Blood Centers and help save lives like the Harpers.
From Green Beret to coal miner to Secret Service agent protecting presidents of the United States, one man's life has spanned some of the most unlikely paths in public service, but his journey began in Special Forces.
This is our class picture.
Rick Miller entered the Army and later earned his way into the 10th Special Forces Group as a Green Beret.
See, it's not hanging clear down to you and all that stuff.
These images take Miller back to his years in Special Forces, where every mission required him to adapt.
I tell you what, I almost camped out. I wanted in so bad. I thought that the Vietnam War was going to be over. Don't ask me how I thought that, but I did. And so I signed up. I went in.
In Special Forces, failure wasn't an option.
And of course, you don't fail. That's one thing that they always tell you when you go on a mission. Don't come back if you fail, Mm-hmm. They don't want to see you back again.
Miller became a multi-role operator, moving wherever he was needed.
For most companies that were short a commo man or a demo man, I was their guy because they had 2 in 1, so to speak. So I could just about go anywhere I wanted to in Special Forces.
After leaving the military at just 24, he found work 700 feet underground in the coal mines.
We were about 700-800 feet deep in the coal mines. And the only question he asked me was, are you sure you'd show up for work? Will you show up for work? And I said, sure, I'll show up for work. I need a job. And he says, okay, you're hired. That was it.
But another opportunity would change his path again.
Then I was coming home from work one night.
Yeah.
And I heard a commercial, nationwide test for Secret Service.
That call led to a career protecting 5 presidents.
Special Agent Rick Miller.
Ford.
Because even though we're not,
Carter.
This football was signed by Reagan.
Reagan, Clinton, and George H.W. Bush. Miller served in multiple roles in a 20-year span, including uniform division, counter sniper, and special agent.
Entering and leaving via chopper.
Today, his office is filled with signed photos from each president, personal thank yous for his service to the presidency.
So mine is green, and it's very, very popular.
And decades later, he still puts the Green Beret back on, not for ceremony, but as a reminder of where the journey started. Ask him about his years in the Secret Service, and one story still makes him laugh.
One time I had my gun case. They said Ford's moving, so I'm trying to hurry. I got my gun in it, my rifle, and I come around the corner, and there's Ford right in front of me. They gave me the wrong time, for it. And boy, I saw him, and I came up with all my might and just missed his chin, going up. I said, God, if I hit him, it's going to be in the paper,
And for those who know him best, his life has always been defined by service.
Words are hard to describe about how proud I am of him. He is my hero, and I'm very fortunate to be his wife, and very blessed to be his wife and be able to help tell his story.
Looking back, Miller still sees himself as lucky to have lived the life that he did.
It means I was very, very fortunate. Because like I said, I wasn't the smartest guy. I mean, some of these guys had degrees, oozing out of their wallets.
From special forces, to the coal mines, to the Secret Service, Rick Miller's life is a story of service that never stopped.
His service didn't end there. After the Secret Service, Rick Miller went on to the LAPD before later moving to Oklahoma to build a ranch.
Coming up, being proud of your service to your country, but even more proud of a love shared for decades. We introduce you to a couple of veterans who have been in service to each other for 50 years. Welcome back to Heroes Among Us, ABC 7's special look at Honor Flight Southwest Florida. For the veterans we've met on this journey, service is not something that ends when the uniform comes off. It becomes part of a lifetime.
Their lives shaped by where they served and the moments that continue to follow them years later. And for the next 2 stories, we see how that experience can take very different paths, even among those who served in different eras and different branches. Our next veteran served as part of SEAL Team 1, one of the earliest Navy SEAL units.
On this honor flight, he returned to the places connected to that chapter of his service.
For Larry Bell, Vietnam isn't something he talks about. It lives in the photos and in what he remembers. A member of SEAL Team 1, one of the first Navy SEAL units, a Navy SEAL corpsman who carried the war long after it ended.
My cousin is on the wall. He was my age. He got killed in 1969 when I was, just getting started in the military, really.
When Bell arrived in Vietnam, the war was already waiting.
When I got to Vietnam, I made a connection with my team. There's 4 of us.
Bell moved through the jungle in camouflage face paint. SEAL teams became known as the men with the green faces, a signature look in the field and a lasting image of how they went to war.
We got 45 of the rockets were shot at us. And one hit the boat, killed a man. Another one hit the coxswain, killed him. And so that boat came ashore. And Maury and I were basically just trying to get us out of it. And picking up bodies and, on our way out.
But Bell says that fear never took over.
I never felt for my life. I never felt like I was gonna die or I had to be careful for something. That in a way I was euphoric.
At some point during the fighting, Bell was hit and didn't even realize it until later.
After I got shot, I didn't realize it until I was lifting one of the guys that was wounded that I had started an IV on. I lifted him over and I felt a catch in my side.
What remains today is what he kept, a photograph.
That's the bullet pieces.
That injury would later be recognized with the Purple Heart and the Silver Star. Back home, Bonnie Bell was raising their children. Their second child was born just days before he deployed.
Well, how proud are you of him to know the sacrifices he made?
Incredibly proud. As far as I can't even put it in words.
Decades later, Bell boarded an honor flight, a return trip, not to the war, but to the memory of it. When he came home, it wasn't quiet. It was something he says he never expected.
It's just unbelievable. The when we landed at Punta Gorda, and all the hundreds of people that were out there, that was just really touching.
Yeah.
For Bell, the journey didn't end at the Vietnam Veterans Memorial. It ended in the welcome waiting for him when he came home.
For some veterans, those memories are carried in photographs, uniforms, and the stories they still tell today. For others, they're carried in music.
Our next veteran spent 2 decades serving his country. His story shows sometimes a single instrument can carry an entire lifetime of service.
The music is steady now, but the photographs tell a deeper story. A young Army bandsman in Korea, standing far from home near the DMZ. Stan Skriloff spent 20 years in the Army, from the tail end of Vietnam through Desert Shield and Desert Storm.
That's a Korean kite.
But Korea is where much of his story was written.
A barracks. That's where I lived.
At 33 years old, he was assigned to an Army band unit near the DMZ.
And I ended up at the band and the DMZ and had to learn how to play the flute and piccolo.
The photographs capture moments of service in Korea, but the mission went beyond music.
The band's secondary mission was combat MP, so we would do concerts during the day and parades and change of commands, and then at night go on patrol and sleep on the bus during the day as we went from place to place.
Musicians also serving as soldiers.
And it was the hottest place I've ever been in my life and the coldest place.
And some memories never leave.
Let me give you the details.
During a large military exercise, Skriloff says training suddenly turned dangerous.
I peeked up over the berm and bullet went by, and I said, "Exit stage right."
For Skriloff, it was a reminder of how quickly routine training could turn into something far more dangerous in Korea.
They made us.
But not every memory is defined by tension.
Embroidered.
Some are defined by gratitude.
Whatever you call it.
Handkerchiefs.
Handkerchiefs.
A handmade handkerchief and letters from Korean schoolgirls written after American troops visited their village during the exercise.
Young Girls High School.
Small gifts preserved for decades.
Let me thank you for your participation in the Joint Military Exercise Team Spirit 86.
The ink has faded, the paper worn with time.
That I made for you.
But Skriloff still keeps them close.
Your sweat and tiredness during your hard work.
Because they represent something he never forgot. Connection in the middle of service. Recently, Honor Flight brought him back to the places and memories that shaped his service. Especially at the Korean War Memorial.
The rice paddy looking memorial with the statues reminded me of being in Korea.
Skriloff says he joined the Army for one simple reason.
I wanted to serve our country and be look out for our freedom.
And today, he still carries that service with him in every note that he plays.
Even decades later, many veterans say the connections formed through service never truly fade. And for one couple on this honor flight, that bond became the foundation for a life spent side by side.
Randy and Lori Graythen both served in the Air Force Station thousands of miles away in Guam, building a life shaped by duty, distance, and devotion.
Lori and Randy Graythen, Air Force veterans, married for 50 years, taking a walk down memory lane.
Man, it was a long time ago. It was the summer of 1969. We were teenagers and we were on summer vacation. And the first thing I saw was this tall, lanky, all-neck, red-headed, geeky-looking guy. We were just friends for a long time, and it wasn't until like 2 years before he got out of the Air Force that we started realizing that we wanted to date.
It's your first girlfriend. You've never had a girlfriend before. We'll leave it at that.
The two married in 1975. Randy was discharged just 6 weeks later during the waning years of Vietnam. At 26 years old, Lori would join Randy in the Air Force in 1980 while he was deployed on his second tour in Guam. Different units, different schedules, but a house on base to keep them together.
We went to do our jobs. He went TDY a lot because he was chasing typhoons. He was on the air crew where they went in and they did all the atmospheric testing into storms. So he flew WC-130s into storms. I went to work, he went to work, we came home. It was a fairly normal life. You know, we ended up serving primarily in a very peaceful time in this country.
A peaceful time in the service, but getting to hear different experiences while touring DC.
The honor flight was so incredible because we saw the sacrifice. We didn't make the sacrifices that many of the people who enlisted in the service made.
Charlotte County Fire Rescue.
Eye-opening. That honor flight was eye-opening. It's an unforgettable experience.
I don't know how much more time I've got left, but I definitely got an opportunity of a lifetime.
A once-in-a-lifetime day made possible by Honor Flight and some miracle workers going the extra mile behind the scenes.
And we both said, you know, there's other people who are far more deserving. And Randy had just been diagnosed with cancer. And we knew that the time for him to take this flight was now. And finally we got a call that he had been selected, and I was overwhelmed because I wanted it so much for him. And about an hour later the phone rang again. It was her, and she said, "Why didn't you tell me you were a vet too?" And it's because I don't qualify. She said, "You're going. We have a buddy program. You can both go together and experience this." That meant so much to us.
A victory lap for the Graythens.
The coming home celebration of this honor flight and cheering for the veterans who didn't get a welcome home. We're really, really, really proud of our service, but we're more proud of our marriage. The honor flight was number 2 on the prize list. The marriage is absolutely number 1.
No matter what else we did in our life, that's probably the one thing we'll remember the most.
A lifetime of love and 2 of the most humble people you will ever meet, embracing their story and the love of the people around them.
After the break, the mission behind Honor Flight Southwest Florida, the volunteers and organizers helping make this once-in-a-lifetime trip possible. Join us to talk about why honoring veterans matters now more than ever. Welcome back to Heroes Among Us, a tribute to Southwest Florida Honor Flight. And there's a whole lot of planning that goes in to make every mission possible. So to talk more about it, we brought in board members and people behind the scenes that help make those missions happen. So go ahead and start by talking to us about how much planning actually goes into it.
It is about a year's worth of planning for each flight, a lot of moving parts, a lot of little details, just to make everything come together so that it's a perfect opportunity, a perfect day for those veterans. It really takes probably about 100 people to plan the whole day from start to finish, and then there's a lot of last-minute details that happen, but it all comes together so smoothly, and the veteran is able to enjoy that special moment.
Yeah, they truly roll out the red carpet for each and every veteran. So you guys got to go as guardians, right?
We did.
I want to hear about that experience for you. Was it your first time?
First time.
Yeah. So what was your major takeaway?
I don't necessarily want to spoil it, but the flight back. The flight back, they did something so special for those veterans. You have to see it to believe it.
Yeah, right? Oh my goodness. And how about for you?
Yeah, this year was my first time going on the flight, and I can say that it was an amazing flight. Given the opportunity to see all of the monuments from the war memorials, it was just surreal. I have family that are veterans, and just to know that they were able to get the day that they deserved was just amazing.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so I understand too, though, that it comes with a pretty hefty price tag. So can you kind of talk to me just a little bit about that?
Yeah, definitely. It's a great opportunity, but it does come at a price. We do rely on funding from corporate sponsors, local community partners. Every flight is about $120,000. Now that includes everything for the flight. We get breakfast, lunch, a little dinner. That includes the plane ride, all the staff that support the plane ride. It also includes the buses, which is a pretty significant chunk of that money. But we're looking for all types of donors, volunteers, really anyone that would be interested in supporting the military community. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I do want to wrap, though, with the fact that there are still a ton of veterans on the wait list, right? So you guys are wanting to add an additional flight. Can you talk to me just a little bit about that quickly?
We do. 2027, we're hoping to get another flight. Right now we do 2 flights, Southwest Honor Flight. We do one out of Punta Gorda and one out of Sarasota. Every flight we have about 80 veterans that are able to join us. We have about 500 veterans that are still waiting to go on their trip. And then there's about 100,000 veterans just in this local community that have not had the opportunity to go on their flight. So having a 3rd flight per year would really, really help getting more veterans for this opportunity. And we're really looking to have a female all-veteran flight as well. So I think one of the flights that we did last year, we had about a half of a flight that had all-female veterans, which was so incredible and really meant a lot to us. But they're kind of the silent veteran, like a lot of veterans in military. They don't like to make it known about their service, but especially females. So we would like eventually to have an all-female flight as well for veterans.
Yeah, of course. And we want to make that happen. Thank you all so much for being here today.
Thank you so much.
Of course. And we'll put ways you can donate and the ways you can find out more information about Honor Flight on our website after the special at mysuncoast.com.
Tonight on Heroes Among Us, we close out our Memorial Day tribute with one final moment in the sky. A surprise in-flight that left veterans moved and a final message of gratitude they'll never forget. Welcome back to Heroes Among Us. For many veterans, some of the most powerful moments of the honor flight didn't happen at the memorials or the ceremonies. They happened on the flight home. As the plane cruised 37,000 feet above the clouds, veterans were handed something simple but deeply personal.
So our honor flight staff always has surprises up their sleeves, and this is no different. So we have for all of you mail calls.
These were the cute ones.
A lot of just thank yous. Just very heartwarming.
What's been your favorite part of the day?
Opening this mail.
You know, it's hard to describe because it's full of emotion.
It showed me she understood me, my peculiarities because of what I went through.
How proud she was of me for doing what I did.
Our children, grandchildren, extended family members, our friends and friends benefit from your commitment.
It's so emotionally charged that it's hard to describe. It's just a feeling of contentment and happiness and acceptance.
And we truly cannot say thank you enough. To every veteran who served this country, thank you for your service. And on this Memorial Day, we also honor the men and women who made the ultimate sacrifice. Their memory and their service will never be forgotten.
Tonight, we've shared the stories of just a few of the heroes among us, men and women who served with courage, sacrifice, and humility. As we wrap up this special tribute to the Southwest Florida Honor Flight, we leave you with the names of the 86 veterans honored on this year's flight. Thank you for watching and have a great night.